Hello, everyone. For today's Thought Leader series, we're going to talk marketing with Bill Howard, who's the CEO and founder of Fastline. And Bill, great to have you here today.
Yeah, Mike, it's good to be with you. And I can see you're at home practicing. I fortunately am at my office, so we've been very, very blessed to be able to come into our offices here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that office looks familiar. I've sat at your table right in front of that bookshelf.
Yes, a lot of people think that this looks like it's a lawyer's office, but these are actually all bound copies of Fastline publications over the years.
Going back to
1978.
1978.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Long time.
Yeah, well, I've been to your place, seen your operation there in Kentucky. You've shared. We had a meeting in that office where you went through some primary research years ago. But for maybe someone who isn't familiar, give us 30 seconds about how you describe your niche in the farm equipment space.
Well, our real focus has always been that we've been in the equipment side of it, products and services. We've never been involved in the editorial side. We started off with the concept of going out and getting the list directly from the Department of Ag, and then we've been then contacting the local dealer. So we always kind of looked at ourselves as being the company that services the guy on the street. We have very little national advertising. Most of our stuff really comes about, local. And I think our real key is because we have local reps in the territories that make the contacts on the dealers and try to learn about their business and to be able to advise them with some good marketing ideas.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So I happen to know that marketing is a professional and personal passion for you.
Yes.
And you've been doing this a long time out there, helping dealers. What would you say are some principles of marketing that are unchanging regardless of the time that we're in? Whether this was during the bust day, boomer bust days, or what we have. What's unchanging about marketing?
Well, I think one of the most fundamental things that I learned as being a student of marketing over all these years was, for some reason, we think that marketing should work better than what somebody does in person. So, one of my early questions that I would ask, especially a dealer and actually even from a manufacturer, I said, so how many personal contacts do you think it takes for somebody to sell your product? All right. Now, there's a lot of research out there on that. All right. But they quite frankly, most of the folks on a local level haven't really gone into that research to find out. So I use national average, things that I've learned from the Harvard Business Review, different things in, Advertising Age, and it turns out, it comes off and it says the average is 5 to 6, especially when you're dealing with a capital whole good, which is what pretty much any piece of equipment that any farmer is going to be buying. All right. So if you look at that, and it takes, for a sales rep to go out and make a physical contact on a customer, and it's to take 5 to 6 times, the iPads, and then plus your internet and computers, you're talking that you've got to be able to hit somebody 17 times. Where when I first started, it was 6. What customers out there need to be very mindful of is, investigate the media that you're using, make sure that media is reaching your audience, and then have faith. All right. And then work on consistently making sure that you're coming up with a great ad, because, over the years, I've had one person tell me it's amazing what you're doing. I can walk down the street and somebody says, I didn't get any phone calls at all. And my first question is, then we need to take a look at your ad, because it's working. It just may not be that you have the right message. So I think those are some of the things that I think are really critical. We just need to remember, and it probably takes more today than what it was. And the other part of it is that I believe that technology has educated the consumer 10 times more than what they were anybody 10 years ago. All right. When somebody walks into a dealership, they know more about the product than sometimes what the sales rep does. So I think that puts a further burden on the sales rep. Just on our part, we feel like we need to know more about the dealership, than anybody else. So, those are some things. And I feel like that's another piece of it that you've got to make sure that your sales reps that are going out, handling sales, are really dialed in on what the needs are of the customers and what that farmer needs. We need to be dialed in on what the dealer needs. And I think those are really key elements.
Mm-hmm. Have you, I know in our world that we haven't had a lot of experience since the world changed here in March, but what are you seeing that's totally changing for the chapter that we're in at the moment?
What we're doing right now. We put a halt on travel for all of our sales reps, going back to March the 16th, and just told them to stay home. Contact your folks, number one, and we're still on, I'm not going to call lockdown, but, we've also told our reps, you can go travel to a dealership and try to help them out, maybe take pictures, maybe try to, do something for them, but you can't, they probably don't want to have you walking in. Okay. I think, that if they loosen things up, like they are down in Georgia, that's going to be a change. But, we're learning how to work with people that normally are here in the office and they're working from home. And it's the same way when I've called into the dealerships. I've had interviews with some of the owners of some of the places, and they've told me that they moved their parts department outside. They set up a counter outside. People come up, they can feel comfortable. I asked them, my first question is, so are you marketing that? It's a relief package for a lot of our dealers, for any of our customers actually. And then now we just sent our latest one out, which is really going to any particular client. We're giving a substantial discount, for folks to be able to get out and reach it. Because the other part is that, so I happen to have a couple of farmers that, that do work for me. And, one of them is a 5,000 acre farm in Indiana. So I called him up and I said, so what's going on? He goes, I'm planning. He's like, I go, well, how's it affecting you? I said, I got a plan. It's affecting me because my kids are home and they're not in school. That's how it's affecting them. And then I talked to another guy in Missouri. Now his situation is a little different because he actually has hogs. And as you all know, the processing plants really hit a snafu. And so consequently, his situation is a little different. But as far as his planting his row crops, life goes on. Is he happy about the corn prices? Hell no. But the fact of it is, he knows he's still got to plant it. He may put a little more beans in than he did the previous year. My other farmer said, I may not be putting as much fertilizer on, and try to trim my cost. But anybody dealing with livestock, hogs, and cattle, those are the challenging pieces because of the processing plants. And so there's some backup, and there's some tough stories that are out there about people that are dealing in that. And there's tough stories out there that are about the folks in Darien. My heart goes out to all those guys. I said, I feel very thankful that I've been in the agricultural community now, for these 40 years. And that I count my blessings that I discovered agriculture because I was a city kid. And, my grandfather had a little farm, but, this was the last thing I thought I was going to be doing, but I've loved it for the last 40 years, and we're going to look forward to many more as well.
Mm-hmm. Very good. The dealerships that you think, when you think about the most progressive marketers in dealerships, who get it, who understand it, who understand that it doesn't, that you don't turn it off. Perhaps you compete harder during tough times. What are some of the common characteristics that you think that the most progressive dealerships share when it comes to marketing?
They know how to use all the media, right? There is no one single media that you would want to use. I'm not a fan of, I would never walk in and tell a particular dealership that you should advertise on television, because I know what the data says, and good marketing is ruled by data. So we know that in the entire United States, there's less than, actually, we know from having the United States Department of Ag Census Bureau, the 1.6 million farmers that are there. There are 325 million people out here. 325, right? So you are literally talking about less than 0.1% of the population. And yet I feel that some of the media that's out there has taken advantage of the idea of, well, don't you want to see your name in there? And, these people are going to buy this. And the reality of it is that the really good folks at marketing really, they dive in to the data and make sure that I need to make, and especially right now, I need to make sure that every dollar that I spend is as effective as it possibly can be, because you don't want to be wasting marketing dollars right now. And history has shown, literally going back to the Depression, that companies that keep their name in front of the buyers recover faster. Our last recession was 2008. Ag didn't take that hit like a lot of other industries did, but we still took a hit. And the folks that kept their name, focused and tried to address the issues, I think that's key. Right now, I think a big problem that I look and see, a lot of people are not addressing one of the biggest issues we've got in the world, and it's called the coronavirus. It's a marketing word, folks. It's not just, it's a disease, but it's like, if you're not addressing it, and you should be addressing it, right now, at least over the next 2 to 3 months, about what steps you're doing in your company to address the concerns of your potential customers, because they need to feel comfortable about doing business with you. And if you'll notice on some of the national levels, they are really hitting that hard. But on the local level, I don't think I'm just looking through our publications, and I'm not seeing it. They're still saying same old, I'm going to show this, and hopefully they'll buy it. And I believe that if your ads don't change with the market conditions, you're not doing good marketing, period.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Good thing to think about.
Yeah.
Are you seeing, are we seeing more hunkering down, or are we seeing people coming out with aggressively to try to compete for the business that is out there?
My opinion right now is it's still hunkering down. I think we're, the president has said they like to get things opened up here in the next couple of weeks. Those are words, but you've kept the population down for this long. There's a lot of concerns. I mean, I've got my mask in my office. Some people are using the gaiters or the neck buffs, but we're being more mindful about our health right now. And it's because they don't really have a cure and they don't have a vaccine for it. So I think those are some of the some real challenges that we're all going to be facing. So I still feel in what we see is that there's still a lot of folks that are like, I need to hold on. This isn't a time to go try something all brand spanking new. But the fact of it is that you don't want to wait until it's clear. I mean, the part is by talking to the farmers, and I encourage people to talk to their customers, is find out, because farming, Mother Nature doesn't say, oh yeah, by the way, there's a virus. Wait 30 days to plant. It doesn't happen. Wait 30 days to do your fertilizing. It doesn't happen. And when it's time to harvest, it's going to be the exact same thing. And I think one of the things that when I've talked to other folks outside of it, I go, let's face it, farmers know how to socially distance because they are. Oh yeah, and by the way, they've been working from their home the whole damn time, so It's not like they got sent home. They know what it is, and they know how to take care of their business. But as I said earlier, the one farmer, the guy, he's farming 5,000 acres, fairly young guy, and he goes, my biggest challenge right now is that my kids are home and they're supposed to be in school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, kind of changing over here, I understand you've got a new technology product that's coming to market. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's called Aggie. It's literally it's the utilization of artificial intelligence to gather a lot of data on the buyers out there, and we literally have this out in the market and brought it out at the beginning of this year. We did a beta site, and we are now into full bore. And this really goes along with the idea of how important it is to make sure that your advertising dollars are being focused. So what we're literally able to do is to identify the people that are coming on to their web traffic. Google Analytics will tell you generalizations. It never can pinpoint a person. It can tell you generalizations, and I mean generalizations. We're talking about giving somebody an email and a physical mailing address because we have loaded all of our database, all of the farmers that we have on that we've accumulated, so that it bounces against that. So when somebody comes on, you can literally go on and say, hey, I was looking at this specific piece of equipment. They've been on this many times, and now don't you think it'd be a good idea to send an email out to them? And what we're learning is that the sooner that you send an email out to a client after they've been on your site, the more it feels like an interaction. If you've been on somebody's site and they all of a sudden they get something from you 30 days later, it feels a little creepy. Okay. So we're seeing that reviewing this data on a more regular basis is that, and then utilizing it to get some information out, is that it enables you to get a little, I'll say a little bit of a dialogue going on with that eventual client. But we do have, the nice part about it is we've got an exclusivity. Who we are utilizing on this, we gave it our own name of Aggie, and it has been, it's amazing. I mean, if we have not had one person that has put it on, and when they got it back, they were like, oh my God, this is more information than what we ever got from John Deere. Okay. And they're the big kahunas, so usually all that anybody's able to do is get a hash mark, and where they could send an email, but they couldn't address it personally. They could do a Facebook posting, something like that. We're literally talking about, having a name and address, being able to use a person's email address and having it come through, and that's going to be critical as life goes along, is who can be more focused than anybody else. And we couple that with the fact that we are now specifically mailing our catalogs to only the top 10% of buyers in the marketplace using Randall Miley's, information. So look at marketing always should be coming down to analyzing data. Who are you going to? Who do they reach? Are they your customers? And that's the part that we want to make sure that we're doing for our clients as well. I love marketing. I've been a student of marketing my whole life. And you have to be a student of it your whole life because it changes. And I think the challenging piece is that, it is an intangible, and a lot of people are out there and they feel like they're getting taken advantage of. And there's a lot of shady things that can be done in the marketing world. I think the key things is always investigate, trust the people that you're dealing with, but make them prove themselves, I think, is always one of the keys. So marketing comes down to hitting your customer or your potential customer and trying to do it in as timely a fashion as all. But understand that, it's consumers don't like to be predictable. They don't want to walk in and tell you everything, about them. And that's why, there's not a lot of fulfillment on customer surveys after the fact. So, human beings are a quirky group here. So, I think that's the challenging piece that everybody has. Everybody like to figure it out, and they wish they could make it 1, 2, 3, 4, but it doesn't. It bounces around all over the place. And that's what makes marketing fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time for us here today, Bill. We're going to look forward to seeing you at the Dealership Minds Summit in Omaha, and your involvement with the Hall of Honor. We'll have our new Dealership of the Year publicly announced there. So looking forward to that.
Well, so this is a different timeline for all of us, and we certainly hope that the Dealer Summit will be able to go forward and for all of us to be able to come up and practice our proper social distancing, but also to be able to share the success stories for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It'll be good to get together again. Yeah.
Absolutely. Always look forward to seeing you, Mike.
Yep. As you as well, Bill. Yep.
All righty. Thanks a lot.
Very good. Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Yes, you too, Bill. Thanks.
All righty. God
All
bless,
right.
man.